Let's ride.
To be a Steeler is to consider others before you consider yourself. To protect your brother, even from himself. To give support at your own expense. And when wearing the black and gold suit of armor, make sure nobody desecrates it, disrespects it. Most importantly, we ourselves don't dishonor it. From previous legends who have donned the black and gold. These virtues I learned while playing for the Steelers are what make the legacy of the black and gold timeless. They are passed down in the locker room from the steel curtain to anyone who valiantly wears the black and gold. Creating a brotherhood that is deeper than money, business, and winning. To be a Steeler is to consider others before you consider yourself. This is our culture, Steeler culture.
Now, here are your hosts, Rob and Dan, the Steel Twins.
Let's ride.
Steelers Nation, what is going on? Thank you guys so very much for tuning in on this Saturday night. How is everybody feeling about this draft class, man? I'll tell you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. Swear jar, there's nothing in here. I'm feeling incredible. I love this draft class, man. Dude, last year, every single one of us praised what Omar Khan and company did and who they brought in on a value scale, on a talent scale, on a potential scale. And we saw last season what the rookies did. They stood out more than the freaking veterans.
Yes, they
last
did.
Season.
Yes, they did. And I get the same feeling. Deja vu all over again 1 year later with Omar Khan. Second draft class. And I have a great feeling this is going to be another one of those greats, a potential master draft class. Once again done by Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, Mike Tomlin, and company, man. What a draft class. Before we get into anything, man, I'll just say this about this draft class. We are looking at potentially five future starters come 2025. The first five picks of this draft class could all start come week 1 of 2025. We're gonna have three immediate starters come week 1 in 2024.
Yeah.
With potentially Payton Wilson and Mason McCormick starting week 1 in 2025 after sitting for a year.
Yep.
As incredible depth. Incredible. Wow. Now, we got a lot to talk about because they didn't fill every single hole. There is still some questions regarding the Steelers' positions, specifically a wide receiver and cornerback, slot corner specifically, after the draft. They did not double dip at wide receiver, and they only selected one cornerback, and that wasn't until the very last selection.
Yeah. Not every
position of need was going to be fixed and filled throughout this draft class.
And we knew that. And there was no trades whatsoever involved in this draft class. They didn't trade back. They didn't trade up. They didn't trade nobody for extra picks outside of Kenny Pickett. But they literally didn't do any trades during the draft. They stayed where they were at, and they were still able to get such incredible talent all over the board. Once again, last year was incredible value everywhere. This year was the same thing.
Arguably, now depending on what they do on the field, but as of right now on paper, arguably better value than last year.
Very potentially, especially when you look at the offensive line. The entire offensive line.
And when you look at this
fixed.
draft class, that is what sticks out.
Yes.
Is the offensive line and what they focused on. 3 offensive linemen that they took.
They tripled down on O-line, which was a bit of a shock to me. Mason McCormick in the 4th round was a bit of a shock to me. I didn't think that they would triple down on O-line. I thought they'd just take Fautanu and Frazier the first 2 picks, which are home runs already. But they took an extra guard for depth and a potential starter in 2025. And now you're looking at the entire offensive line revamped, fixed, solidified for at least the next 4 to 5 years.
You know how important that is? Do you know how great that is?
Instead of replacing positions every single year on the offensive line, if everything works out, we are looking at the complete Steelers offensive line for the next 4 to 5 years.
They would have it established.
And potentially onward. Mm-hmm. So all those complaining about how we didn't take receiver or we took center over certain positions or we took tackle over certain skill positions, I don't blame you. I get it. Like, we passed on Mitchell. We passed on Arnold for Fautanu. We passed on AD for Frazier. But offensive line next year, I don't see a spot next year where we got to take O-line in the draft for once. And now we can go into next year's draft in 2025 and use most of those picks for those skill players.
Yeah. Do you know how many times in previous years that we had to talk about offensive line? We got to look at tackle. We got to look at center. We got to look at guard. We've been looking at every position of the offensive line for the last 5 years.
Yes.
And quite honestly, it was fucking annoying. Excuse my language, but it was annoying.
And I'm aware.
It was tiring.
And we're very aware that James Daniels is going to be a free agent after 2024. But I think all of us do believe and trust that Khan and company will get an extension done before training camp.
I'm very confident.
Before preseason.
I'm very confident they will get a deal done.
So thus, you are looking at, we'll talk about it, bro. You are looking at Broderick Jones at left tackle. You're looking at Isaac Sayamalu at left guard, at least for now. Potentially Mason McCormick at left guard in the future. You're looking at Zach Frazier at center. You're looking at James Daniels at right guard. And you're looking at Troy Fautanu at right tackle.
You want to talk about building the foundation? You want to talk about building the trenches? That is what Andy Weidel has always been about. That's what Omar Khan is becoming. It's what he wants. He has taken Weidel's mindset, and it is aiding the Steelers big time because that is what's important in the NFL, in football in general.
You're not going to get anything done on the offense without an offensive line. Us as Steelers fans know that first and foremost. We have fixed this offensive line in this draft.
Who all remembers the Goon Squad? We all know the Goon Squad. It was fan-flippin-tastic.
I miss it. And now we're starting to get a revamped Goon Squad or whatever name you want to come up with the offensive line. We like to call it the Great Wall of Wilson for now. Maybe the Great Wall of Fields or whatever. The Great Wall of Pittsburgh at this point.
Right.
Incredible. We got a lot to talk about, but the biggest thing coming out of this great draft class by Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, Mike Tomlin and company is they have completely completed the offensive line. And it was a massive necessity, and that's why they took it with the first 2 picks in this mock draft. All I have to say is thank you for that, because now there is Hakuna Matata all over the offensive line. I am thankful. I am blessed.
There is a lot of dependability. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of long-term options.
There's a lot of bullies. There's a lot of maulers. There's a lot of athleticism in that group. Mm-hmm. It's filthy. It's absolutely filthy, man. Bully mentality is what we're about to get back to.
And if I'm Najee, if I'm Jalen Warren, I'm smiling ear to ear. If I'm Russell Wilson, who was, by the way, the most sacked quarterback since 2020, Justin Fields, I believe he was up there as well. If I'm them, I am happy.
I am smiling because I don't have to use my legs to scramble. I can use my legs to run if need be, if drawn up upon. I don't have to constantly run around on the field because my line sucks.
Yes.
They can just sit in the pocket, wait for the targets to get open, and then they have the time, they have the ability to sling it if need be.
Right. Absolutely, man. I'm ecstatic over this. I'm really ecstatic over this.
That's just our quick thoughts.
Now, clearly, like the players that we've invested in are going to have to live up to the potential and the pedigree that we have invested in, that the Steelers have invested in. And, of course, the O-line coach,
Pat Meyer.
Pat Meyer, is going to have to step his game up. But on paper, man, it's looking incredible.
It is.
It's looking fixed. It's looking completed. It's looking like the absolute future. Looking amazing, man.
It gives me something even more so to look forward to for OTAs, for training camp for the upcoming season.
Yes. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever, man, if Najee and Warren both hit 1K this year.
It's a huge possibility.
They're going to rely so heavily on the run game. We know that. That's what Arthur Smith makes his money off of. That's what the Steelers have made their money off of. They're going to continue to depend on that, especially with their with certain issues still at wide receiver. Answers to be determined after the draft, but as of now, still questions there. They're going to rely on the ground game. They got a complete offensive line to rely on to do so. Incredible, man. Incredible. And they've revamped the quarterback play. They improved the OC position. The offensive line, man, the offensive line has improved. Undoubtedly.
Yep.
I don't know what their ceiling is. I don't know where they're going to rank in terms of like top 10, top 15 and whatnot. But the potential is sky high, man. The potential is really there. I hope they can put the pieces together. I hope the coaching specifically can put the pieces together. My biggest worry is still the coaching, and that goes from Tomlin and down. Mm-hmm. That's still my biggest worry. If they can put the pieces together in the coaching department, this offense has a lot of potential. Finally, we can fucking say that. Swear jar.
Yeah. It all comes down to the execution on that football field.
Yes, it does. That's exactly what it all comes down to is execution. Where do we go from now, man? We talked about O-line. You might as well get into the draft class at this point, right?
Yeah, of course. That was just our quick thoughts on that one because that's exactly what stands out about this draft class is the O-line. And it all started with our first pick. A man that should have never arguably have been there.
No.
Was projected top 10, at the latest top 15.
And the Steelers had him as their second highest ranked tackle on their draft board, behind, of course, Joe Alt, who was the first tackle off the board.
Right.
Troy Fautanu fell all the way down to pick 20. With the 20th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Troy Fautanu, tackle, out of Washington. Great pick. Unbelievable that he was there. Great value. The best offensive lineman available.
The best player, arguably best player available on that board.
And the most athletic offensive lineman in this draft class. There's questions where they're going to play him. Could they stick him at left? Could they keep Broderick at right? Could that be the scenario come week one? And yes, I do believe that Fautanu is starting week one. I do believe that Frazier is starting week one. Mike Tomlin has to. I don't give a damn about his past, about the Steelers not pushing in their rookies immediately.
Well,
I don't care.
Here's the way I see it.
They have to.
When it comes to Fautanu, they had him ranked as the number 2 tackle after Alt.
On their draft board.
In that case, yes, he's starting. In that case, that guy's starting.
And who the hell else are you going to put at center?
When it comes to Frazier, yes.
So Fautanu, he could start at left tackle to ease his way into the NFL. They could do that before switching him to right, or they could try him at right completely and then move Broderick back to left because Omar Khan has alluded that Broderick was drafted to be a left tackle. He'll play that position eventually. This is the best way to do that. And Fautanu, he's never played right tackle, so there are questions of him being out of position, much like Broderick. But Fautanu is a better athlete than Broderick. He's a little more natural as a tackle. And people have said it in the past, and I'm going to say the same thing. Fautanu blocked the non-blind side of Michael Penix because Penix was a left-handed quarterback.
Right.
He is used to protecting the non-blind side of the quarterback. So that transition from left to right is going to be, I think, a little more fluid than many think. I think it's going to be a nice, comfortable transition. And Fautanu has added in his opening press conference, the second he got in Pittsburgh, he said that the Washington coaches were cross-training everyone on the offensive line in case of emergency or opportunity. So he's comfortable anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Which is great.
So the transition from right, there's going to be no pressure on his shoulders. He's going to fit in like a glove.
Just based off his work ethic on what Washington and their coaching staff were doing with him and his teammates, his athleticism, his versatility. This guy is arguably the most versatile lineman in this draft class.
And I do see similarities of Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell had a similar route.
It's funny you mentioned that because he was on Cam Hayward's podcast at the draft party today.
In Heinz Field, right.
Yeah, Cam asked, who do you model your game after to Fautanu? He said Penei Sewell. Or Penei Sewell.
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and Penei Sewell, he was a left tackle coming out of Oregon. He never played right tackle. But I believe he was the day one starting right tackle for Detroit and has locked down that position and just got paid the biggest contract of a tackle in NFL history.
Yep.
If Fautanu models his game after him and he becomes anywhere close to Sewell, that's incredible. That's incredible.
That's a steal.
And the way Fautanu models himself and his work ethic, he grew up as a Steelers fan, so he modeled his football play after guys like Troy, after guys like Ben. You know, two of his favorite Steelers, he said. He knows what it's like to be a Steeler. He grew up with that mentality, with that work ethic, with that high motor to him. So the fact that he already was influenced by that, grew up with that, and understands what it means to be a Steeler, what more could you ask for in a franchise right tackle? What more could you ask for in Troy Fautanu? He understands, man. He gets it. He will fit in perfectly in this culture. I love this fucking pick. I love it. He's going to fit in perfectly at right tackle, man. No problem with me whatsoever with him switching to right.
No. And the reason being why he fell to 20, although he was thought to be top 10 material, was because of supposed knee injury concerns. But that didn't seem to shy the Steelers away from taking him.
No, because they brought him in for a top 30 visit. They sent the O-line coach, Pat Meyer, to the Washington Pro Day. Everything checked out. Fautanu has said that his knee injuries hasn't really affected him in years.
Yeah.
Looks healthy to me. Looks healthy to me. Wasn't he a 2-year starter at tackle? Didn't he miss any games? I don't think so.
I believe not.
Looks healthy to me.
At 20, it was just too hard to pass up on a guy like him. When you watch his tape, the guy has great tenacity. He's physical. He's a bully. There is a highlight out there where his helmet flies off and he's still blocking.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible. And
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to see.
And he said that the only way to play offensive line is violence. You're going to fit in perfectly, dude.
There we go.
Let me tell you, man.
There we go.
My God, Fautanu, home run selection at 20. We're surprised he was there. Not shocked he was the selection because Steelers loved him too much. The interest was there. The fit is there. It makes all the sense in the world for the offensive line. Fautanu's going to be a stud, man. No doubt in my mind he's going to be a great tackle in this league for the Steelers, man. And they go back-to-back franchise tackles and back-to-back draft classes. Just continuing on the trend of building the trenches.
Not only did they do that, but they went back-to-back on offensive line in the second round.
And they had to. They had to.
They had no choice. They had no choice.
Jackson Powers-Johnson got taken by the Raiders right before the Steelers. Right? A couple picks before the Steelers. They had to go center. They had to. I know A.D. Mitchell was there at 51. I get it. But if you pass on Frazier, who the hell is your center?
Nobody.
Who is the next center taken right after him? I couldn't tell you. Was there another center selected day 2 after Frazier?
I can't tell you. I don't remember. The Steelers had to take center.
Steelers had to take Frazier, and that they did.
The 51st overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Zach Frazier, center out of Oregon.
There's your franchise center. This
was the pick to go.
This was the most pure center in the entire NFL Draft, the most experienced center in the entire NFL Draft, and in many's eyes, the best center in the NFL Draft.
The most pure center in this draft class.
Everyone knows about his wrestling background, 4-time consecutive heavyweight wrestling champion in high school, and that's where he gets his play from. That's where he gets his physicality. That's where he gets his violence. That's where he gets his toughness, and that really helps with his leverage at the center position. He can get to the second level. He's a mean blocker, and he's tough as nails. Everyone knows about his last ever collegiate snap at West Virginia, man. It was the final drive in the final regular season game versus Baylor. West Virginia had no timeouts left. Zach Frazier was pushing his teammate to get a first down, and then one of Baylor's defensemen landed on his leg, broke it completely. Instead of just laying on the ground, aching in pain, and costing West Virginia a 10-second runoff because they had no timeouts, He hobbled off the field and saved them some time, in which West Virginia would go on to win the game.
Yeah.
The guy is a team player. The guy is tough. The guy's a great center, and he's the franchise center. That is my center. He's already the best center since Pansy. And I was not going through another Kendrick Green situation in the third round, dude.
No.
I was not putting myself through that.
No, we were pounding the table all offseason that the Steelers cannot neglect the center position any longer. They made mistake after mistake when it came to Kendrick Green and Mason Cole being the
Kevin Colbert made mistake after mistake.
the so-called replacements to Marquise Pouncey. We all know what happened. We all saw the miserable play at center. For how long? 4 years.
I'm so glad that's
miserable.
over. I'm so glad that's over.
It's over now because Omar Khan knew he had to fix it. And that's what he did. Zach Frazier. Zach Frazier's a dog. Zach Frazier's a beast.
This was a no-brain selection at 51, man.
As you could tell based off me and Dan's reaction night 2, if you watched the live reaction to night 2, I mean, like, we were ecstatic because that's what we wanted.
Yes. Just like last year, we were hell-bent on tackle in the first round. And after we went tackle in the first round again this year, we were hell-bent on center, no matter if it was JPJ or it was Frazier. The fact that JPJ was off the board, it had to be Frazier. Steelers with the no-brain selection, man. They ran to that podium because Frazier was there.
Yep.
And they fixed their center position. Not only did they fix their tackle position, their right tackle position, as well as left tackle, fixing 2 holes in 1 selection in the first round, they filled 3 holes overall on the offensive line with Frazier.
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. The Steelers, man, offensive line, the first 2 picks. I know it's not flashy. I know it's not sexy.
I don't care.
But was it necessary? Absolutely.
I don't care if it's a pretty pick. I don't care if it's a flashy pick.
We couldn't do anything because the offensive line was so bad since 2019. And now the offense might have time to do something.
Yeah.
Now Najee and Warren have holes to run through. They have, but now they're going to get bigger holes. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
Offensive linemen have tendencies to last a decade or more, especially when they're selected by the team that they're drafted to.
You get your value out of it.
Especially in the first round, you get your value big time. It's what a team wants in the first round. It's what every team wants in the first round, to get your long-term value out of it. Offensive line has the best value out of any other position in the NFL when it comes to being selected in the first round.
Arguably, because you get your years out of the guy, man. Seriously. I feel like they are some of the most underpaid players in the entire league because they put their body through so much. They are so reliable.
And when it comes to Frazier, this man was getting talks of potentially going late first. Many of us thought that he was not going to be there at 51 leading up to the draft process.
But he was.
Thank goodness he was.
In fact, Omar Khan did admit that they had discussions to trade up for Frazier. They didn't have to do that.
No.
They didn't even have to do that.
Thank God they didn't have to do that. If they did, I would not bat an eye one bit because you had to fix center. But
they didn't even have to do that,
dude.
They didn't. No, they didn't.
Thank goodness.
And then they followed that pick 84 with the 84th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers selected Roman Wilson, the Roman Empire, wide receiver out of Michigan. Everyone in their grandmama knew, man, that once Roman Wilson was on the board at 84, he was going to be a Steeler.
Yeah.
Tomlin loved this guy too much. Now, I think he was one of only 2 selections in this entire draft class that wasn't a top 30 visit, but the interest was so there. They sent the house to the Michigan Pro Day. Mike Tomlin was up close and personal with Roman Wilson at the Senior Bowl, to the point he had Roman Wilson and Quinion Mitchell battle it out several times. And Roman Wilson got the victory in most of those reps.
He got the better, yeah.
He made Quinion Mitchell look a little silly sometimes. So that goes to show you, Roman Wilson got a little juice to him. Roman Wilson got a little nastiness to him, man. He's a little fierce.
Yeah, he's got a small stature. He's not the biggest guy. He's about 5'10", maybe 5'11" on a good day, about 185 pounds.
So he's primarily a slot weapon, but plays bigger than his size. Great hands. Rarely drops a football. 1 drop all last season. 12 touchdowns last season. He's an end zone magnet. Don't we need touchdowns? He got 12 last year.
That was 12. Keep in mind, 12 touchdowns in a run-heavy scheme at Michigan.
Yes.
Like, that's insane. You think about that.
And because it was a run-heavy scheme, he's already well-established as a blocker.
Yeah.
He is already well-fierce as a blocker. And because, like you stated, it was run-heavy, there's so much more to see as a receiver.
He probably could have. Imagine if he was at Washington with Michael Penix in that pass-heavy scheme.
Now
or even USC with Caleb Williams. Like, imagine that.
Oh, man. Imagine what his stats would be.
Imagine that. He's not the flashiest wide receiver. He's not the biggest wide receiver, but don't let his size fool you.
No, because this guy is a playmaker. This guy is going to be incredibly dependable for any quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. His hands are reliable. He's very fast. Very
4.39. A 4.39.
His 40 was impressive.
And when it comes to his style of wide receiver, he's a very good route runner with room to grow.
Yeah.
And that's something that maybe the Steelers are looking to get back to. Because that's what Deontay was to George Pickens. George Pickens isn't the most polished route runner. He's more so of a throw it up in the air and he'll grab a guy, a contested catch guy.
Yeah, he's a big playmaker, right.
When it comes to Roman Wilson, he's got very good route running ability. He will make people look silly.
Now, I got a question for you, and for the chat. Do you see Roman Wilson potentially playing the outside receiver role?
Maybe not immediately.
Because-
Maybe they could work him out there eventually, but I think right out the gate, not straight away.
Because he rarely saw any outside reps at Michigan. He was primarily a slot weapon. Now, that could translate to the NFL immediately for him, but he could always make a transition as an outside guy if the Steelers think he's coming along far enough. I mean, look at Deontay, right? He is an incredible route runner. He was undersized for an outside weapon as well, but he played outside. So who's to say Roman Wilson can't play outside? Maybe he can. It might not be an immediate transition, but they might test him there, especially in Arthur Smith's scheme where he doesn't run a lot of 11 personnel. He doesn't use a slot receiver very often. In fact, last year he was dead last in that usage. Maybe he opens his playbook. Maybe he opens his mind a little bit to the idea, but it's hard to believe that at the moment. So perhaps maybe they view Roman Wilson as their number 2 right now. Maybe he is the future outside weapon. But regardless, however they want to start him, wherever they want to put him, he's going to be an incredibly dependable wide receiver. Very dependable.
Yeah.
I like this pick, man. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I wasn't in love with it. But obviously sleeping on it, seeing where we selected, and knowing what the Steelers could still do at receiver because there's still ideas there. There's still possibilities of them adding guys in there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but
I really like this pick a lot, man. I really do.
Solid pickup that for a guy that, again, people thought was going to go in the second round. People thought he was going to go much earlier, even with the stacked wide receiver class.
Yeah.
But again, the value. He fell to 84. The Steelers took him. Tomlin got his guy. And Russell Wilson's got a Wilson to throw to.
And what people are saying, a Tyler Lockett type comparison.
And I can see it.
And he models his game after Tyler Lockett.
I can see it.
Now Wilson's got his new Lockett. Could we see that Wilson to Wilson connection start firing up a little bit in Pittsburgh?
I love it. I would love that dynamic, man. Imagine that.
I can't wait to see it.
We went from Pickett to Pickens to Wilson to Pickens, but Wilson to Wilson.
Yeah. And I do see a lot of Lockett in him, man. You know, Lockett's incredibly dependable. Lockett is very underrated. I could see the same thing there.
It's a
for Roman Wilson.
similar journey from what Tyler Lockett went through. A third rounder, undersized, and he just worked his way up.
Yeah. And clearly, you know, he comes from Michigan, who won the championship last year. He comes from a winning mentality. He comes from a winning school. A lot of success there.
Yep.
A big playmaker in that success. You want guys like that in your room. In fact, the Steelers have been doing that for years now. They drafted Broderick. They drafted Pickens. They drafted Darnell from Georgia, who were back-to-back champions before Michigan won it. Like, we got winners at the college level in our locker room now in this offense. That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
It's the small details that really do matter. It goes a long way.
That's fantastic to have that type of atmosphere to this team, man.
I love it, man. So, Roman Wilson at 84.
But that wasn't the only Wilson we selected.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, man. And in my opinion, this was the biggest steal of the entire draft.
Many people, not just Steelers fans, but many other,
analysts,
yes,
experts, you know,
draft gurus. People were saying that they got to steal the draft. They stole this guy.
And this has the potential to be the biggest steal in the draft. To get him at 98, are you kidding me?
With the 98th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Payton Wilson, linebacker, NC State.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. You know, he was, I think, the only linebacker that they brought in for a top 30 visit. And I remember, man, after his combine, he was getting late first round, early second round discussions.
I remember that.
Clearly that didn't happen, and everyone knows why. It's because of the injury concerns. He's had a boatload of injuries. I think 6 injuries since high school.
Like 10 different surgeries on his body.
2 of them being torn ACLs, and then recently a shoulder injury that ended his 2020 season. No, 2021 season.
So the injury bug, when it comes to Payton Wilson, yes, it's a major red flag. It's a major concern. It's a big reason why he fell all the way to 98.
Yes, and there's actually legitimate news that he doesn't have an ACL. But you can't tear what you don't have. And he was making plays for 2 years. 2 years without one.
Yeah, the past 2 years he was fully healthy in college, and boy, did he contribute.
He hasn't had an injury since 2021. He went through the entire draft process without any injuries coming up. I have no concerns about his injuries. There are some that are going to be lingering. There are some that are going to be back there. There are going to be some concerns. But as of recently, he's been as healthy as a horse. No, he has no ACL, but neither did Hines Ward.
Neither did Greg Lloyd. That didn't stop them from being some of the best Steelers of all time.
You can't tear what you don't have. And this guy, man, is just an absolute baller. This is a do-it-all linebacker. The guy can do everything you ask him to do. He is a complete player. He won't start day one either. That's the best part.
But here's the crazy thing. He probably could.
He could.
He absolutely could, but I don't think he will. But that's fine. That's a good thing. That's a great thing to have, because when it comes to the linebacker position, it's been nothing but full of injuries and bad depth and just bad play in general.
Yes. And the injuries does linger with Payton Wilson. So
it does.
In that room, yes, there's that concern. But you're right. The depth has been awful. Atrocious. Because when injuries have gone down since Frazier, and we've had freaking midseason fill-ins, midseason trades, these little short acquisitions that never really panned out for anything, these one-year rentals.
And these former retired players coming out of retirement.
Like, we've had slim pickings. We've had nobodies, dude. We've had bottom-of-the-barrel options.
They were desperate.
Linebacker was a massive necessity in this draft because we needed depth, and we needed a future piece. We were saying it throughout all draft week, man. Linebacker or defensive line was a big dark horse come day 2 or early day 3, because there's a very likely possibility that in 2025, the front 7 is slim, because they could be without Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi most likely, and in the linebacker room, Atlanta Roberts is a free agent next year, and Cole Holcomb could be a cap casualty.
It's a big possibility, and then all you're left is Patrick Queen, who they added in free agency.
That's it. Now we ain't got to worry about it, because we got a guy like Payton Wilson, who will probably start come next year alongside Patrick Queen. And you have 2 incredible, speedy linebackers.
Legitimate linebackers.
Athletic linebackers, man. I remember watching the linebacker room for the past number of years, and most of these guys are just like stiff in the hips. It's like running in quicksand. Now we got athletes, we got speed, we got ballers, we got playmakers that can do it all.
Yeah.
You want them to blitz, they can do it. You want them to stop the run, you want them to hit the gaps. You want them to cover sideline to sideline.
They can do it.
You want them to cover.
They can do it. They can do it all. And that's what Payton Wilson can do.
These guys all got free range,
and that's what Payton Wilson can do. He's a do-it-all linebacker. He's got phenomenal size. He's 6'4", about 230, maybe 235 pounds.
And ran what, a 4.43?
With that size, that's freakish.
Unbelievable. Now, yes.
That's freakish.
Now, yes. Let's get back to the injuries, because that's going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be the biggest question mark about Payton Wilson. There's a reason why he fell, because there were 22 NFL teams that believe that Payton Wilson is a one-contract player. I have the quote here according to Ian Rappaport. He says, and I quote, "He has a multitude of injuries. First, there was a left shoulder injury that was operated on and was not a great operation. That's certainly a lingering issue, but that's actually not the worst of it. He has torn his ACL twice, and by my understanding, after talking to several sources, is one of his knees does not have an ACL. Again, you can't tear what you don't have. There are 22 teams who share medical reports. My understanding is all 22 teams view him as a one-contract player. But let's say he is a one-contract player. At 98, it's still worth the risk, because we got pick 98 from one of the worst quarterbacks in NFL history.
We traded Kenny Pickett for Payton Wilson.
It's worth the risk. It's one of those low-risk, high-rewards, honestly, man. We get an extra pick. We take it on a great linebacker that has Sean Lee and Luke Kuechly comparisons towards him.
See, I mentioned that Fautanu models his game after Sully. Told Cam that. Freaking Payton Wilson, he was also on the show tonight. at the draft party. He said he models his game after Kuechly.
My God. There's no better guy you can model your game after at the linebacking position. And he's getting comparisons to him, man. We say Sean Lee because of, yes, the injury background, but because Sean Lee was a do-it-all guy for Dallas for a number of years, man.
Yeah.
If he turns out anywhere close to those guys at 98, that's a steal.
We got a winner.
And if he is a one-contract player, again, it's worth the risk. And do you know how many players, especially before pick 98, turn out to be one-contract players? At 98, man, it's a low risk, in my opinion, for trading a horrible quarterback for this guy. And if he doesn't turn out to be a one-contract player and he gets an extension and he turns out to be the steal of the draft, oh my fucking goodness.
That's even better. That's a home run. That's a out of the park freaking winner.
I don't know what would be better, trading Chase Claypool for Joey Porter Jr. or trading Kenny Pickett for Payton Wilson. Flip a coin.
How Omar Khan did those two things.
I'm not trying to overhype it, but I'm saying the potential is there.
Yes. And this is what this whole draft class is about. I feel like we have to reiterate. That's what this whole draft class is about. Is the value, the potential. Like, it's out of this world. It is. It's what we said last year about last year's draft class.
Yeah. And the potential does not stop there, man. It does not. Because day three with the 119th pick, in the 4th round, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Mason McCormick, guard out of South Dakota State. This surprised us. We didn't think that they were going to go line again. We thought they were done with Fautanu and Frazier, but they tripled down on offensive line. This really shocked me. We thought they'd go corner here, maybe receiver. They didn't. They go guard. They go O-line one more time. And with Omar Khan's response, it actually makes a lot of sense because it's something that didn't even tickle my mind. Because I'm still very optimistic we'll get a deal done with James Daniels before training camp, before preseason.
Yeah.
But even so, you gotta look at the future of the O-line. You gotta look at Sayamalu and his age and his contract.
It didn't take us long to figure out that the Steelers have a plan in set. Sayamalu is what he signed a 3-year contract last offseason.
3-year contract. He's coming to his 2nd year. It's very possible that next year in 2025, after being, 31 years old?
He'll be 31 pretty much by mid-season.
So he'll be 31 and a half after 2024. And if the Steelers were to cut him for a cap casualty, they would save almost $8 million in 2025 while having an answer with Mason McCormick. And Mason McCormick has been a 3-year starter for South Dakota State. Only allowed 2 sacks in 3 years.
And he's a 3-time captain since he was the starter.
57 career starts. Now, he is on the older side, as are most of these rookies. He's on the older side he'll be 24 in next month. But we still have a great answer if that is their plan. And that's kind of what Omar Khan alluded to. He said the Steelers selected Mason McCormick because James Daniels and Nate Herbig are in the final year of their deal. So he has an insurance plan. Because maybe they don't get a deal done with Daniels. Maybe this is competition for Herbig, or perhaps they move on from Herbig after 2024. Well, they have an answer now in McCormick. They have an insurance guy.
Yeah.
And they had Mason McCormick graded higher than they took him. They didn't allude to exactly where, but they had him very high, and they did bring him in for a top 30 visit late into that process. So the addition, the drafting, the selection makes a lot of sense, actually. And going back to what we alluded to at the beginning of this live stream, this completes the offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, if they do view him as a future starter, which he very well could be, because this guy is nasty. He's a bully. He's a mauler. Again, only 2 sacks allowed. He's a ferocious run blocker. He comes from a hard-working mentality, a high motor to him, which is what we need in the offensive line, man.
Yeah.
And the same can be said for all of these picks. Every single one of these picks that we selected, they all come from a hard-working mentality, a high motor just build to them. You know, they always play through the whistle. You know, you want guys like that in the locker room. You want guys like that on the football field. You want guys with effort.
Effort to better themselves, effort to better this team.
Didn't we have a couple guys last year that lacked effort? I think we did, especially in the wide receiver room. We got guys that now bring all the effort in the world. They play through the whistle, man. Love it.
One of these guys is McCormick. He can start off as depth, as competition, and depth at interior. Depending on what happens to James Daniels, they have a plan in set if they want to put him over at right guard. He started 57 consecutive games at left guard. He's more so of a natural left guard, but maybe they want to experiment him at right if Daniels were to move.
Not a bad idea.
Or they resign Daniels to a long-term deal because he's only approaching 27.
Yeah.
So
He's still
they
young. That's insane.
absolutely have the ability to sign him long-term, which is great. And I'm confident they'll get a deal done.
Yeah.
If they desire to get younger at the offensive line, they cut Sayamalu next year to save some cap. It's a business move, but you have a young, up-and-coming potential starter after being a depth piece and learning from Sayamalu.
That sat for a year? Yeah, dude. This is why we say, they have completed, they have revamped, they have fixed the offensive line for the minimum next 4 years. It's beautiful.
And it'll just make the line completely young. Young!
Wow.
Young studs.
It's incredible.
A fresh wall.
I love it.
A rebuilt wall, man.
I love it. So this is one that probably had people a little confused, a little people blindsided, kind of thrown back a little bit, but it makes all the sense in the world. If you want to continue to build on the line and add better pieces in that room in any way possible, I'm not going to say no. I'm not. And that's what they did. McCormick could very well start in 2025. And these first 5 selections, Fautanu, Frazier, Wilson, first of all, those 3 will start day 1 come this season. And then you have Payton Wilson and McCormick potentially starting in 2025. The first 5 picks of this draft could very well be week 1 stars in 2025. Holy shit.
Yeah.
To have 5 stars in one draft class?
That's a high possibility. Imagine that. Just imagine that.
Wow. Especially when you look at last year. You got Broderick, you got Benton, you got Joey Porter Jr., potentially Darnell Washington, depending on his dependability or depending on his depth.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Hell, even Nick Herbig, bro.
You just see, these guys, man. These guys are future stars for the long term. And you see what he brought that same thing in this year. Potentially better. Wow.
That's debatable. That's really debatable.
I'm just throwing it out there, man. That's incredible. So Mason McCormick is a Pittsburgh Steeler. He'll be the left guard depth piece. He'll be the guard depth piece along with Nate Herbig, and then we're looking at potential start in 2025, depending on his development. But from what I've seen, man, I like it a lot. I love it, man. That's the first 5 picks of this mock. Now, the final 2 picks, I will not lie to you. I'm not incredibly enthused, but I understand these are mostly depth pieces.
And when it comes to the 6th round, because the Steelers obviously didn't have a 5th round pick, they waited from 119 to 178 to do their next selection.
Right. And these picks aren't blown away. I don't see them as future starters, at least not immediately, obviously, because they're going to be special teams guys. They're going to be depth guys on the defense, which was necessary.
When it comes to 6th rounders, it's what you're going to look for.
Yeah, the expectations shouldn't be too high.
Yeah, which is fine, And when it comes to these positions, I mean, we talked about them adding extra bodies to that room, to adding extra depth, because it was a necessity.
Yes, it was.
It was very necessary to get these bodies into these positions,
especially at 178, where the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Logan Lee, defensive end out of Iowa. This is another guy they brought in for a top 30 visit. Man, the interest has always been there, and Logan Lee, they view him as a defensive end between the 5 or the O tech. They view him as a defensive end in the 3-4 scheme. He is underweight for his size, man. He brings the size that you want, but the weight is not there. He needs to add at least 10 to 15 pounds of mass to him.
He's listed at only 281. That's a little too light.
That's light for a 3-4. Very light for a 3-4
So
DN.
he could definitely add more mass. He could definitely add more muscle for sure.
And he will, because he's going to be the depth guy most importantly. But I will say this, man, about Logan Lee. He has pass rush moves. He has a motor to him. He's going to sit and add more mass. And he's a depth piece, and we need better depth. Our depth at defensive line has been weak. And I think this could be the exiting for Isaiah Loudermilk and especially DeMarvin Leal. And if he's better than any of those guys, this is a good pick for the 6th round.
Yeah, it is.
So if he's better than any of our current depth pieces on the defensive line, it's a good pick.
And it's the competition that Leal and Loudermilk need, because they would only compete with the guys that they did last year. And, I mean, they would just win the competition again.
As well as Dean Lowry, who they brought in.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, that's just mediocre in my eyes.
No, it's
and
just,
when they got in, I mean, we saw what they did. They didn't take the next step, especially Leal. He hasn't done anything.
Well, mostly they're every game inactives last year. Most of the time. The only time they played was because of other injuries.
So, yes, they needed competition. They had to add another body to add more competition. That's what they do with Logan Lee.
And they went one of their favorites with Lee, man. So, solid pick there. We'll see what he can do. He's definitely have to grow a little bit in the weight department. But yeah, he's quick off the line. He's got pass rush ability, and once he grows a little more, yeah, I think he's going to be a very solid rotational piece. It's going to be very interesting to see how immediately they put him in that group come training camp.
And just see what he does, really.
Same thing can be said with the last pick in this draft class, man, at 195. They didn't take corner at all until this pick, man. The last pick, 195th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Ryan Watts, defensive back out of Texas. This is another guy they were very interested in. First of all, they were very interested in a lot of Texas Longhorns, but this is a guy that was flying under the radar for them. Ryan Watts brings exactly what they've been bringing into the cornerback room for years now. They did it with James Pierre, with his size. They did it last year with Joey Porter Jr., who's 6'2", Corey Trice, who's 6'3", and that's exactly what Ryan Watts is. He is 6'3", 210, almost 210.
Yeah.
He's a big corner. He's a big body corner. A physical corner. He's a little slower for his size. He's not the fastest receiver or corner.
Defensive back.
But the way I see it, man, I see him being very much like a James Pierre. James Pierre was similar stature. He wasn't the fastest guy, but what was he? He was a decent depth piece. He was used in a lot of sub packages, and he was most importantly a special teams ace. And that's what this guy's going to be. We don't have that at the cornerback room because Pierre is now with the Commanders, I think.
Yeah.
That's what this guy's going to do. And he does have versatility to him. At least that's what he said. That's what Watt said. He was primarily the outside guy for Texas, but they could use him in the slot. They could work him in the slot if they want a big body slot choice in the defensive back room. They could put him at safety, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
He has a great build to play safety, specifically strong safety.
Yeah.
Because he can work in the box.
That's your prototypical build at strong safety for sure.
Because one of his biggest assets is him in the run support.
Yeah, his run defense is what really sticks out. He's a very good run defender. And that's what's going to help big time at special teams.
Yep.
And it just added more to special teams, to which I'm not going to complain about.
No.
I'm really not.
We needed bodies there, didn't we? So the last two picks aren't mind-blowing. I'm not the biggest, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I'm not over the moon about it, but I get what they were doing. And I like the additions, and I think they could fulfill the needs that we had there, which was, better dependability, better choices, depth, and improvement there. So that's what they did. And that's how they finished day 3. But there are still questions at cornerback, especially. There are still questions at wide receiver. And that's what we're going to get into now, man. But this draft class, I'm a fan of it. I'm in love with it. I think it has the potential to be better than last year's. And we were saying last year that was our best draft class in a long time.
In years.
Based on talent and value. Same thing here, man. Just a lot more emphasis on the offensive line. Great stuff by Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, and Mike Tomlin and company, man.
It appears that Omar Khan and company have outdone themselves. And I didn't think that was possible from last year's draft.
This was their second draft. This was his second draft.
If this works out, if this pans out, if the potential level is reached, then holy fucking shit.
Yeah, literally. I'm loving it, man. I love this draft class. I know there are going to be some that have other exceptions, or they wanted this guy over that guy. They had their favorites. They wanted better skill players. They wanted a little more sexier picks. I get it. I do. But the Steelers have the guys they have in their room now. Like, for example, let's talk about it. They have a number 2 corner. Not all of us are a big fan of it. I know we're not.
No, he's not the best, but he's a fill-in.
They have Dante Jackson at cornerback too. They don't have depth. I agree. That's what they did with Ryan Watts, and they're probably going to bring in another guy. There is news about them bringing in old buddies from the Steelers days. We'll get into that shortly.
Yeah.
But they have a cornerback too, which is why that they waited to the last pick to go corner. Even with receiver, it's not the best room. In fact, it's still a little concerning. They're probably going to add more to it. I think it's a necessity, but they see a lot in Roman Wilson. They trust him a lot to have him be the only receiver ever selected in this draft for them.
Yeah.
They signed Van Jefferson. They signed Quez Watkins, who are depth pieces. Don't get us wrong. They are depth pieces. I only see one of them making the roster. They have Calvin Austin, okay? Outside of Pickens and Wilson, every other receiver is weak. There's nothing there.
No.
But they have guys in the room that they favor, which is why they did what they did. And because they filled the offensive line, which as of now, man, if Daniel signs his contract and they see McCormick as a future starter, we don't have to draft offensive line next year. And then we can take most of our picks next year for those skill players, for another receiver, for a corner. Maybe next year we go just crazy on cornerbacks.
Maybe. It's a possibility.
You can't fill everything in the draft.
And they never were going to. They never were going to.
No. But they can still fill in pieces. They can still sign for agents because business ain't over. Just because the draft is over don't mean business is.
No, they can still make a move, especially a wide receiver. Khan even was asked about, are you going to add another player to the wide receiver room? He said, if it makes sense, we restructured Alex Highsmith's contract. We got some space. We got some cushion.
Yeah, they have that to work with, which could allude to maybe they bring in Tyler Boyd. I know they've had a deal on the table for him for a while, and Boyd never took it. So perhaps they can throw some of that at Boyd to get him to come to Pittsburgh. I still do believe that Courtland Sutton is a massive possibility. I think he'd be a phenomenal number 2. I think he'd be a great addition. It'd be cheap. Clearly, the Broncos weren't going to get anything this year for him. So if you're going to trade something next year, it's not going to be anything expensive. So I think Courtland Sutton is still a realistic possibility.
I do think a move at wide receiver is still coming. I don't know if it's going to come in terms of a trade. I don't know if it's going to come in terms of them signing somebody. I don't know if that's going to be Tyler Boyd. I don't know if that's going to be... I don't know if they could re-sign Allen Robinson, but at this point, I don't really think he would fit.
And there's not a lot of great options in free agency. Michael Gallup's one of them.
He might be the better or probably the best option, but he himself has injury concerns lately.
And please don't say Odell. Don't give me that Odell talk.
I don't want
no
Odell.
one wants that.
I don't want Odell.
No one wants Odell, bro. No one. Not even the Ravens want Odell back, and they need receiver, dude.
Yeah.
But
So
no.
I don't know what they do at wide receiver, but I would have to believe a move is still coming.
Yeah, because
They got to have something brewing.
they have to only take Wilson.
Yeah.
And they got to do something about corner to only take Watts. And there is news regarding the Steelers and cornerback because Patrick Peterson is still a possibility for a reunion. Chandon Sullivan is a possibility for a reunion if they want to put him in the slot. Or what was breaking news this morning from Jerry Dulac?
Yeah, last week, Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan actually held a meeting with former Steeler Cameron Sutton. We know what happened with Cameron Sutton just a couple months ago. We know the news that broke out. Because of it, he was wanted, then he turned himself in, and he got released by the Lions.
Yes.
And
typically that would end someone's NFL career. Now, that doesn't mean, because Khan and Tomlin met with him, that doesn't mean that he's going to come back to Pittsburgh. They could very well just be great guys, great characters that want to look after a guy like Sutton because he was in the Steelers locker room for 4 years. Maybe they just want to check up on him and help him down the right path.
Especially Tomlin. Tomlin watched this man grow. He selected this guy. He drafted this guy. And he developed this guy. He watched this man grow.
Yeah.
Under his wing.
Yeah. And he got paid by the Lions. He was only there 1 year, and he did not do good. He got burnt a lot.
That was primarily because they put him outside. Sutton is not an outside guy. He can work outside, but he's much better in the slot.
He has that flexibility, but yes, correct.
He's much better in the slot.
He is a slot corner. Us Steelers fans knew that firsthand.
Yes.
Because when we let, I think it was Steven Nelson walk, we put Sutton outside, and it just wasn't the best success. Put him in the slot, that's a better option. Do they bring him back? It's a possibility. And if he wants a second chance, the Steelers are the best team for that. Makes all the sense in the world. Would we take him back? If there's no better option, if
everything pans out, that meeting with Sutton had to have been them doing their due diligence on how he is, where he is mentally, where he is with his legal issues, how that's going about, and just Tomlin checking up on him. He was actually asked during the NFL annual meeting down in Florida about, has he reached out to Sutton? He said yes, but I won't go into further detail about it.
Well,
so even when it first came out, Tomlin checked up on him.
Yeah.
That's what it could all be about, but it could also mean, hey, we may want to bring you back if everything pans out, if everything's well.
It'd be a 1 year deal. It'd be incredibly cheap. His second chance in the NFL, man. It makes sense in the world. That could be their answer. It's not a bad answer. We'll see.
If you put him in the slot, that's where he works.
Of course. But we'll see if anything goes further than that. Otherwise, I don't know what else they do at corner. I know they just got a couple undrafted free agents in that group. We'll get into that shortly, but I don't know what else they do there. There are holes, there are questions, but they're not done. I do believe Khan has something brewing. I do believe Khan has someone or something within his grasp. He has to not take these positions a little more heavily in the draft.
Yeah.
But, again, you can't fix everything. And at least he fixed the line and got a stud linebacker. And we did get a receiver. So we got most of our needs. We addressed most of our needs while still having some bodies currently on the roster to fill for now. Guys like Dante Jackson and some of our depth pieces at receiver. And they're adding another receiver. Everyone knows that. We just got to find out who, and we won't know that until God knows when. But we should find out shortly. But that is the Steelers draft class, man. To recap, Troy Fautanu in the first round. Zach Frazier in the second round. Roman Wilson, Payton Wilson in the third round. Mason McCormick in the fourth round. Logan Lee and Ryan Watts in the sixth round. I'm not going to give it a grade because I do not believe in immediate grades after the draft. You have to let these breathe. You got to give these time. But I will give you an opinion. I love this draft class. I love the potential, and I love that they were so heavily emphasized on the offensive line. Now it's no worry. Now it's not a concern amongst any of us anymore. No longer do we have to worry. No longer do we have to be scared about this offensive line, man. It's all fixed.
Big time.
That was their biggest emphasis the last 2 years, man. It took Khan 2 years to do it. It took him 2 years to complete this offensive line.
Yeah, he wasted no time. He wasted zero time.
Zero time. But there you have it, man. That's the Steelers draft class. Wow. 5 potential starters alone in this class, man. We could be looking at 5 starters in 2025.
It's insane, bro. It's insane.
Dude, it's amazing, man. I don't know how you guys feel in the chat. Let's see what the poll is at. 85% Ians think that they love this draft class. I love it too, man. I absolutely love it. I think Omar Khan nailed it once again, man. His first 2 draft classes, he has absolutely went above and beyond. And that's not just the draft, that's free agency as well. Very rarely has he made a mistake. Now, granted, I know we need some extra time to see how all these completely pan out. But because I know when Kevin Colbert made the moves that he made, we will admit we were a little favorable of it before. Clearly it did not age well. It aged like absolute milk. But
Spoiled.
At least with Khan, we understand that he is going a complete different direction. He's a lot more aggressive. He's a lot more intelligent. And the players he's selecting are out of this world. Out of this world.
Yeah, if there's one word to really describe all of these players, it's athletic.
Yes.
Athleticism. They're all athletic and they're all right.
Yes, it is.
It's crazy.
Yes. Now, undrafted free agents. There's not a lot of news on who the Steelers signed for undrafted free agent, but there are a few that came out before we went live. One of them is Beanie Bishop from West Virginia, which is very interesting because he was one of the local visits for top 30 visits for the Steelers, and he went undrafted, and the Steelers picked him up immediately. And I will say this, man, Beanie Bishop is a very, very, very early favorite to make the 53-man roster.
Yeah, especially at slot cornerback.
He could very well get that opportunity, man. It's wide open as of now. I think the Steelers are going to give it to him. This could be like another Mike Hilton situation. Remember Mike Hilton went undrafted, and then Steelers picked him up after the Patriots dropped him.
Yeah, my guy was putting applications in for Foot Locker. Then the Steelers called him up, and Mike Hilton, look at him now.
And then he made the roster. He made the 53-man roster as a starting nickel guy. Beanie Bishop is nowhere near Mike Hilton, but I'm comparing the stories, not the player, because he's not Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton is a complete different, crazy player.
Yeah.
But Beanie Bishop, he is electric. He is a energetic football player. His hips, the way his fluidity in the hips and the way he's able to get down the field and that long speed to cover down receivers is very evident on film. So to get him is a very good find as an undrafted free agent, an early favorite to make the 53. I like that there. We did pick up another running back for camp battle, for camp bodies. And, of course, the Steelers weren't going to complete any draft process, any draft, without grabbing a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, whether that's selecting one or picking or signing one up undrafted.
Yes.
Daijun Edwards, running back out of Georgia.
What do you have, 12 touchdowns last year?
13.
13, even better. 13 touchdowns.
Talking 880 yards, 13 rushing touchdowns. I believe he started I want to say 10 games last year.
Right.
For Georgia.
Now,
and obviously he's got chemistry with Broderick Jones, Darnell Washington.
Yes.
So
now he's not the fastest guy.
No, I believe he ran a 4.71.
Not even close, but he's going to come in. He's going to be the extra body. He could very well be stashed on the practice squad. But what is he, like 5'9", 5'10", 207? It's a big build for a running back. Very big build for a running back. A Steelers build, as a matter of fact. Not the fastest guy, but clearly, I mean, the guy can get into the end zone. The guy can go get down the field.
Yeah.
So that's a decent pickup. We'll see what he can do in camp. They did pick up another quarterback, which means this will be the 4th quarterback for training camp. Steelers always love to have at least 4 for training camp. So they got that. They got John Rise Plummet, quarterback out of Central Florida. I don't know who this man is.
As a matter of fact, let me look this guy up really quick.
John, am I saying that right? John Rice Plumlee, quarterback from Central Florida.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Looking at him, he's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He played wide receiver a little bit.
That figures.
Yeah.
That figures.
Played at Ole Miss. He came into Ole Miss as a quarterback. Then they switched him to wide receiver. But then he transferred to UCF to play for the Knights, where he transferred back over to quarterback.
Oh, interesting.
Well, and he's when it comes to his career, touchdown interception ratio, 34 touchdowns, 19 interceptions with 5,838 passing yards.
There you go. There's some history. There's some stats there for him.
But it goes to show, if he's able to move over to wide receiver, Ole Miss was willing to try him out a wide receiver. It goes to show the guy's athletic.
Yeah.
It goes to show that, the athleticism that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Who was that one player we had years ago? Years ago in training camp.
Are you thinking of Devin Gardner?
Devin Gardner.
Wasn't he out of Michigan, if I'm not mistaken?
He was out of Michigan. I remember he was quarterback, then receiver. So he played a plethora of positions. I think he came in initially as a receiver, but turned to quarterback. So that's kind of a similar journey there. We'll see what he can do. I mean, he's the 4th quarterback. Steelers just wanted to add upon that.
Yeah.
They did add 2 extra linebackers or 2 extra guys to the front 7. One of them is Michigan State linebacker Jacoby Windman. So they had another linebacker there. According to the article on Steelers.com, he played 41 career games, playing 2 seasons at Michigan State after transferring from UNLV. He played 11 games, recording 64 tackles, 23 of them solo stops. He had 12.5 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks. Wow. Interesting. He also had 6 forced fumbles, 3 passes defended, and an interception. Wow. Decent production. Very good production, actually. So maybe we're looking at another guy that can just fulfill a potential edge piece. Jacoby Windman. And
yeah.
That wasn't the only guy we added in that room, obviously.
No, we also added from Charlotte, the 49er, because Tomlin likes to add those guys.
Charlotte 49ers, yes.
Julius Welschoff, if I pronounce that last name correctly.
Welschoff? I guess.
He is actually German. He was born in Germany, so he's a part of the NFL international transfer situation.
Right. I mean, there were a couple draft picks from that portal, I guess is what you want to call it, in the NFL draft. So Steelers are no stranger to being a part of that. I remember they brought in a tight end years ago. I can't remember his name, but they brought in a tight end years ago from the United Kingdom. I think he played rugby to play tight end. Never really found much success, but the Steelers are no stranger to finding pieces within that portal. But all I know is, man, this guy's an athlete.
Yeah, this guy played defensive end for Charlotte. And, he's got some good athleticism to him.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously camp bodies. These guys are going to be given a massive opportunity, but we'll see what these guys can do. But the biggest name here is Beanie Bishop. Very excited for him. He's the early odds-on favorite to make the 53, so we'll see what the opportunity is for him, where the Steelers want to put him. He's an easy slot option. He's an easy fill-in at the slot if they want to put him in as some of the early contenders for that starting role. So that's a big opportunity, man. And that's one thing you really love to see is an undrafted free agent, make the roster, make his mark, and make his name.
Yeah, we've seen a good bit of those actually in recent memory for the Steelers. Mike Hilton, most importantly, he came in and just burst onto the scene and just aided big time a part of that secondary as a slot cornerback.
Of course, recently Jaylen Warren.
Big time.
Jaylen Warren. My goodness,
You know,
we all love
even
Jaylen
James
Warren.
Pierre during the pandemic season, you know, like no preseason. That man, I mean, I got to give him credit. You know, he busted his ass to make that fucking roster.
Yeah.
During a pandemic season where there was no preseason.
Yeah.
He made the roster. And good on him. He became a rotational cornerback for us. Wasn't exactly the best, but he was a good special teamer.
Yes,
I will
he
give
was.
him that.
Yeah, and now he's still in the NFL with the Commanders. So, like, it's these stories that are just really, really cool to see. And, you know, we could see another one of these this upcoming training camp, this upcoming preseason. I think Bishop's a heavy favorite for that. That's only 5 so far that we know that the Steelers have announced. So maybe we'll get more. We probably will get more throughout the night. And we'll see who else they add. You know, there's not really a lot of crazy talent. I was hoping certain guys would have fell out of the draft. Guys like Brendan Rice, he was ultimately taken by the Chargers.
Yep.
Guys like a James Williams, I think he got taken by, I forget what team. I want to say the Raiders. I might be wrong on that. He got taken late into the draft. I think Kamal Hayden got taken. So these are some of the guys I was really hoping that would have went undrafted. Maybe the Steelers could pick them up. That is ultimately their obvious decision. But, you know, thankfully they did get selected, and they are going to be getting a massive opportunity. So Good for those guys. Those are guys that honestly, man, shouldn't have been selected so late, but they were. Even I'll say the same thing for our picks.
Yeah.
They were selected so late, and here we were to pick them up. So there you have it.
Like throughout the draft process, when it came to guys like Zach Frazier, when it came to guys like even Roman Wilson or even Payton Wilson, you know, guys that we wanted to be a part of this team, you know, we were thinking, you know, maybe they could be Steelers, but, you know, we would have to use this selection and then miss out on another player.
Right.
Like we didn't think that they would fall. All of them would fall. And they all did.
They did.
We all thought that, well, we got to get at least one. You know, there's no way we're going to get all.
Yeah.
We got all of them. Like, my goodness.
Yes, it does. I mean, unbelievable. I can't believe that these guys just keep falling into his laps. It happened last year, and deja vu all over again. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Let's see. I want to get a new poll in the chat. Where are we at? Let me see. Let's get a new poll in the chat. Yeah, deal with it. The draft fell perfectly for us. It really did. Just like last year. Let's get a new poll in the chat. I want to get a poll in the chat because I want to get you guys' thoughts about the wide receiver position, because I think that's still the biggest question coming out of the draft is wide receiver, right?
Yeah, of course.
What should the Steelers do at wide receiver now? And I'll put trade for Sutton, sign Boyd, sign another free agent. Well, I'll give you another one. Cause it's still possible. I don't know. I'm just saying, man. It's still possible. Anything's possible, man. What should the Steelers do at wide receiver? Trade for Sutton, sign Boyd, sign another free agent, or trade for Ayuk? It's still possible. I'm just saying. Did Jalen Coker get picked up yet?
Not sure.
Let me see. I don't think he did. Maybe he did. Hold on. Jalen Coker signing with the Panthers, according to Jeremy Fowler.
Okay.
Jalen Coker got picked up by the Panthers 2 hours ago.
Yeah, well, good for him.
So there you go.
Good for him.
Maryland corner Jaquan Shepard agrees to terms with the Raiders. Braden McGregor is signing with the Jets.
I know Frank Gore Jr., he signed with the Bills.
Dude, his dad couldn't be any more emotional. I don't know if you saw the tweet. I forget who it was. Dude, Frank Gore
Josina
Sr.
Anderson, was it her?
Dude, Frank Gore Sr. was he was pissed off. Like, he was like, this is a similar journey to me. You know, everyone's treating my son like they treated me, and look how I turned out. You guys are getting a dog. You guys know how I raised. You know how I raised him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys are getting a baller day one. Like, he's hyping his kid up, and he should, man. I thought Frank Gore was going to get selected, but he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Let me see. Is there any other free agent signings? Because I'm curious. Steel Chambers signed with the Lions. Dallas Gant with the Vikings. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Williams with the Lions. Interesting. Damn, Jalen Coker got on a $25,000 signing bonus and $225,000 salary guaranteed.
Wow.
So that's pretty big for an undrafted free agent. So good for him. But as of now, I don't think there's any other names unless the chat knows someone that we don't. See, 35 votes say that they should trade for Sutton. It's just the cheapest option. It's probably the most realistic option.
And he's just a perfect wide receiver, too.
It is. It makes all the sense in the world. I still think we could trade a fifth next year for it. Did we sign Tomlin? Lee, you still on that, ain't you? No, I don't think anyone signed Dino Tomlin. Did he really enter the draft?
He played, what, 5 years in college?
I mean, he's due.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a single college touchdown. Not one receiving touchdown at the college level.
Maybe he's not gonna go. Maybe he's not gonna.
I don't know.
Play football anymore. Maybe he tried it and he's like, you know what? Yeah, I ain't doing this. He's like, I'll go do something else. I'll go into business or I'll go into marketing or something. I don't know. Lord knows. But no, we did not pick up Dino Tomlin Lee. We didn't. I swear. I won't be surprised if we do. Isn't Joey Porter Jr.'s cousin in this draft too? Yeah, I forget his name. But I know his name was circulating. Here, you know what? Let me search it.
Sean Stevens? Is that his name?
I said Stevens?
No, I think it's S-H-O-N.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Sean Stevens. You're right. Yeah, Sean Stevens, JPJ's cousin. There's nothing as of now. Let me see. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Steelers pick him up. It's another cornerback. Oh, he's okay. There's an update. As of 15 minutes ago, Sean Stevens has accepted a rookie minicamp invite with the Eagles.
That figures.
That doesn't exactly mean that he will sign with the Eagles, but he's going to try his hardest to impress them to get a contract. So
right.
there's the update on that.
Well, speaking of which, forgot to mention this. The Steelers are bringing in Jacksonville State center Trey Brown for a rookie minicamp tryout.
There you go. More bodies on the line.
So giving the guy a workout, giving the guy an opportunity.
There you go. Ayuk seals the wide receiver locker room and is younger. David, you're correct. It's a big move, but Omar Khan's done some big things. I say go for it. Let me see. Dino still has another year of eligibility, so he went back to Boston College. Okay, that according to Ben V. Okay. So next year, Lee, you can guarantee you that. Next year, Dino Tomlin will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. So if you ever want to know what Tomlin looked like on the back of a Steelers jersey, you got to wait another year. We'll see what happens. So, yes, Antonio Gates. Yeah, Antonio Gates never played football in college. But Dino Tomlin is not Antonio Gates, bro. He's not. No. He may have the bloodlines, but he's not Antonio Gates. No. Will the Steelers run more or pass more this season? They're going to keep running the ball. They're going to keep running the football. They will be a lot more aggressive in the passing game, I do believe. I mean, they fucking better at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to pass the ball in today's NFL.
We're going to keep running it. Steel Out West, who's an STN, appreciate you, man, says, hey, Twins, thanks for a great draft weekend. You did an excellent job. I'm just signing off right now, so I'm going to scroll back to the beginning and watch your podcast. Hey, no problem, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Hey, this has been our sixth straight day we went live this week. We told you guys we were going to go live every day for draft week, and that we did, man. So thank you guys for tuning in throughout this entire 2024 draft week, man, especially the past 3 days. It's been electric. It's been crazy. It's been a fun ride, and you know, man, when the dust settles, it does upset me that we won't go through this for another year.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of Christmas. Like when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, obviously we all used to get excited for Christmas.
Of course.
But when the dust settled, when everyone went back to their families, when everyone went back home, when you opened all your presents and all that, right? Or whatever. When the dust settled, and then you have a moment to think about it, you're like, fuck, it's over.
Yeah.
And it's kind of saddening because you're like,
this won't come around for another year.
yeah, I got to wait a whole nother year for this? Like, I don't want it to end. Like, it's so fun. Like, no more mock drafts. The 2024 draft is officially in the books. So we got to wait all the way till at least January to get started on this. I mean, mock draft season is never over. There's people that do mock drafts all year long, and there's no problem with that. You know, there's people that scout all year long, and obviously, I mean, that's the thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's not really up until January till it really starts picking up steam.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So,
End of the college season, and then players are going to be declaring. They're going to be getting ready for the combine and all that stuff, and then we're on to the draft.
yeah, absolutely. Steel Out West with a $19.99. Appreciate you, man. It says, for keeping me entertained the last 3 days. Thanks for keeping me entertained the last 3 days. Thanks. Hey, no problem, man.
Still Out West. Appreciate it, bro.
And no, thank you.
you.
Thank you guys for tuning in all week. Thank you guys for the amazing support all week, especially the last 3 days.
As we're nearing 16,000 subs, bro. Wow. We're nearing it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
It is wild.
Incredible.
We can't thank you guys enough.
Didn't we just hit 15 like... Didn't we hit 15 like after the Justin Fields move or something like that?
I think we might have. That was, what, a month ago?
I got to find it. Hold on. I could easily do this off stream. I'll just do it off stream. I'll figure it out. But yeah, that's insane, man. We're about to hit 16K. That's astonishing. We thank you guys so much for everything, man. I know we say it a lot, but I don't think we say it enough. So, wow, what a draft week. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Tomlin. Appreciate Khan. Appreciate Waddle. Appreciate the Steelers for another home run draft, man. Seriously. How you feeling bringing in, I'm not going to pronounce it. It's Tua's brother.
Tulia Tagovailoa.
There you go.
I mean,
We already brought in the quarterback.
they would have if they wanted to. And they elected to go with somebody that might have to move to wide receiver.
Yeah.
So, I don't think he's coming over. Which, by the way, bloodlines, I don't believe the Steelers drafted a NFL bloodline player.
Yeah, we thought it might have been McCaffrey. It might have been Rice. No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't.
not one.
Speaking of the bloodlines, man, how about the Roman Empire? How about our tribal chief in Choi Fautanu?
Yeah, acknowledge your first-round pick. And the Roman Empire is going to disrupt defenses.
I love it.
I hope so.
Yeah, buddy. Wow, man. We got Ravens Nation in the chat. Hey, I'm still a little
Thanks for Queen.
Thanks for Queen. I'm still a little upset about Hello D9's kid's comment. I didn't like that there. I took great offense to that.
Hurt my feelings.
It really hurt my feelings, man. Wow.
You gotta break Ben's nose. Now he's gotta throw a jab at us. Like, come on, bro. Didn't you do enough damage? Come on.
Hey, the Ravens suck too, man. Just letting you guys know, the Ravens suck too.
That's right. Lamar can't handle the pressure.
No, he can't. You guys will never win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. You can clip this. I don't care. I don't care if I sound goofy and this age is wrong, bro. You guys will never.
His words, not mine.
You guys will never win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, man. Y'all had your chance. Y'all had your chance this year when Mahomes had nobody, and he still won. Ain't happening, man. Ain't happening. I'm not saying we're going to win either, but I know you ain't.
Nah, Steelers got to prove their worth. They got to prove themselves.
No.
They got the talent to do it.
Yeah, because, again, let the dust settle. We still got to win a playoff game at least, okay? I'm not ready to say Super Bowl. I'm not really ready to say contender. I need to see.
It's obvious that they're going for a run.
They are. They are going for a Super Bowl run, man. They are. I would say in win now mode because Hayward has maybe 1 year. I would say 1 year left. Watt has how many years left in his prime?
They brought in Russell Wilson, dude. Like, despite how many people may think about him, I mean, Russell Wilson can still play to an extent.
You're right, but I mean, I need to see some. I need to see some growth from the coaching. I need to gain trust back with the coaching. I haven't gained trust back yet. It's better coaching, but it's still Tomlin. Say Tomlin how you want, but it's still Tomlin. They got to earn my trust back. They got to at least win a playoff game first.
They got the talent to do so. The additions that they have done throughout the offseason make me absolutely excited. I look forward to the upcoming season.
I'll tell you this,
It's one
man.
of the most anticipated seasons in recent Steeler memory, in my opinion.
I'll tell you this, man. This Steelers team is already better than last year.
Oh, big time.
I know we're a little weaker at receiver, but give it time. We might not be. But my goodness, are we better than last year? I know our line's better. Jesus God almighty. You ain't got to tell me twice.
Yeah.
Our linebacking group is better. Our corners are hopefully better.
Let's just get
Our
out.
quarterback is better. Come on. Everything's better, dude.
Let's just go out on that football field and execute. Let's get it done.
Everything's better. So this team is better, man. So this team just needs to this team, when it matters, just needs to wake up and start playing like they should, playing like they mean it, playing like the logo should be represented. That's why I can't wait for football season. That's why I can't wait for August. It's how many months away? This is pretty much the dead time of the offseason.
We got 4 months, man.
God, it's the dead time, and that's what I hate. Is like it's probably gonna go by quick, like that, because it always does. But it's just such a dead time. You just have speculation. You have mini camp. You have OTAs. You have training camp, and then we finally get preseason. So up until that time, it's just a dead offseason up until then. But, we're still going to be active. We're still going to be pumping out content. We'll still be live from time to time talking about whatever. And, of course, the Steelers aren't done with business, so we're still going to be getting news. We're still going to be getting stuff going around. So, stuff will still be out. So, that's why I'm most excited about this team, man. So, they always leave you on your toes. They always leave you wondering what's next because there is going to be more coming. So, that's the great thing about it. That's the awesome thing about it. But with that being said, man, that's the Steelers 2024 draft class. I love it. And
Epic.
And the poll, almost 200 votes, 33% of say that they should trade for Courtland Sutton. Very possible. It's
I expect the move to happen. It's just a waiting game once again.
It is.
Something's got to be done.
The phones are still going to be ringing. The phones are still going to be active.
Maybe more restructures happen. If that happens, then that's really going to say something.
Oh, my God. Yeah, if we get restructures from Wide or Hayward
or Fitzpatrick
or Ogunjobi, yes, something's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going down.
Yeah.
And that's when, yes, you should be expecting something crazy to go down. Because they have the cap space to sign all the free agents. Well, not free agents. They have the cap space to sign for all the
draft selections.
Yeah. That's not a problem whatsoever. They had it before they even created the restructure for Highsmith. So, I mean, now that's just opened up some room a little bit and more to come depending on what they got locked down. Because clearly they were talking with Debo, or they were talking with the Niners about Debo Samuel. That doesn't shut the door on anything.
It does not. It does not. They're not worried about the money aspect.
No.
It's just what they have to be willing to give up. But Khan is not a man that's going to budge.
Yeah.
He does the negotiating.
Yes. He will not crack under pressure for teams, man.
Nope.
He will not raise his offer. But because of everything, because nothing happened during the draft. No one got traded during the draft. I was shocked about that. No one got traded, but because that didn't happen, value goes down. These teams got to make a decision because now that the draft is over, this is when the negotiation talks, the contracts are expected to come for some of these players. Mm-hmm. Guys like Ayuk and Higgins and Trey Hendricks and maybe even a Courtland Sutton. They all might be on the move, so we still might be getting some crazy stuff happening. That might not be up until August, probably, most likely. But, there's still going to be rumors. There's going to be something circulating.
Big time.
So that's when all those rumors and those talks are going to be amplified because then those teams are going to have to make a decision. They're going to have to make a move. So I'm just saying, man, might not happen today. Most likely not tomorrow. Maybe not next week. Maybe not next month. But you always got to keep it a wonder in your mind. Like, hey, wait a minute. Could that still happen?
Keep an eye and ear out.
We're getting closer to the NFL season. Is that more of a likely possibility?
Throughout the summer, throughout OTAs and training camp, we're going to be hearing some stuff.
Yes, we will. It's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely exciting. So it's a dead time, but it's an exciting time because now stuff is really going to start picking up steam, man.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think we're going to get out of here. We're going to call it a stream. I think we've pretty much stated everything we had to say. We've talked about everything. We talked about the draft class. We talked about the undrafted free agents. We talked about the options afterward. We chatted with you guys. Menard's Maniac with the $2 says trade for Sutton and Rooney's. I think it's going to happen.
They can get it done.
I do think it's going to
get it done.
I do think it's going to happen.
But in conclusion, I am 110% satisfied with this draft class.
I am 111% satisfied.
I love it.
With this draft class. I love it, man. I'm absolutely in love with this draft class. I just asked one more thing from you guys. Can we get 200 likes before we get out of here?
200.
200 likes is all we ask for, man. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for the 2024 Steelers draft class recap. We thank you guys so much for an amazing draft week. The draft is over. It saddens me, but I know that the Steelers, and especially the Steelers offensive line, is in good hands. So to Omar Khan, to Andy Waddle, to Mike Tomlin, to everyone in that front office, to the scouts, and yes, even the ownership a little bit, Art the Clown over there, thank you. Thank you, and great job.
Big props, big praise, big shout out to everybody involved for what was a great draft class.
Yes. So let us know you guys' thoughts in the live chat towards the end. Let us know in the comments if you're watching the replay. Otherwise, see you guys next time. Because, we could still talk about draft stuff afterwards, man. Maybe we get news immediately regarding the receiver position. Maybe the corner position. So we'll see you guys next time, man. So you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see what happens with the Steelers in the future. Thank you guys so much. Here we go, Steelers. And welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, Roman Wilson, Payton Wilson, Mason McCormick, Logan Lee,
And
and
Ryan
Ryan
Watts.
Watts. Unbelievable. See you guys in the next one.
Let's ride.
Appreciate you guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace! Yeah! Look at that.
Look at them studs.
I just want to say this, man. I am just so fucking happy that we have a draft class we can be proud of. And I really do think that comment is going to age well.
Dude, a lot of these guys fell to us. How?
I just don't know. I don't know.
The value in these guys, the potential in these guys, the athleticism in these guys.
Yes, sir.
Out of this world.
Love it, man.